I will start the presentation without any further delay. Thanks again to everyone for joining me in today's session. My name is Muhammad Qadir, and I'm the technical lead in Jubaili Bros Solar Division, looking after UAE market and the other branches. So today's presentation is about Huawei's 100 KTL. I will also speak about the smart IV curve diagnosis of Huawei inverter. To start with, I will speak about Jubaili Bros company introduction. Jubaili Bros was initially launched in Lebanon in 1977. The UAE office was launched in 1992, and then thereafter we had many other branches opened in other countries as well. In 2017, when Jubaili Bros finished almost 40 years in business, we opened the Jubaili Bros Solar Division. And since then, it has been a very successful time doing the solar equipment distribution. In 2020, we have opened our Pakistan office. The Jubaili Bros has a core business of generator assembly, and the solar division is a subdivision which is doing only solar equipment distribution as of now. Jubaili Bros as a group has 1,341 manpower. We are present actually in 10 countries with our own offices, with the global reach of many other countries through the chain of our dealers and our own service support in those countries. So in this map, you can see all those countries where we have either direct or indirect reach. The Jubaili Bros Solar Division is consisting of 25 employees. We are 14 people in Middle East, which is Lebanon and UAE. The South Africa team is consisting of 2 people. In East Africa, particularly in Kenya, we have one of our representatives there as well. In West Africa, particularly in Ghana and Nigeria, we have 2 solar engineers. In South Asia, uh, in Pakistan and Afghanistan, we have almost 6 engineers looking after technical support and sales of the business and solar division. Jubaili Bros is a value-added partner and certified service partner of Huawei. Initially, we were a distributor. Based on our performance, we were given the Tier 1 partnership relation, and which is called as value-added partner. We are certified to sell into 10 different countries in specific and all of the African countries in general. So Huawei products provide you higher yield. These results into more energy. The products are having smart operation and maintenance. These decreases the lower OPEX, uh, results into lower OPEX. Huawei products are safe and reliable, which accounts to 25 years life cycle of the product. Huawei is leading the solar industry with continuous innovation and having been supplying in a huge amount of inverters since 2016. The Huawei inverter has been leading the market in terms of global supply of solar inverter and being number one global inverter supplier. So Huawei coming into the market with the string inverter has changed the trend of using central inverter, and thereby we have been seeing that since the inception of Huawei, the central inverter usage is being decreasing globally and string inverter is taking the place of central inverter. So by 2020, it's almost like 57% of the market globally is covered with the string inverters, and these will continuously grow. So Jubaili Bros shipped almost 1396 inverter in 2019. In 2020, we have shipped till now almost 1864 inverters, and these amounts to 69 megawatt almost in 2019, and in 2020, this number of inverter amounts to 93 megawatt. We are aiming to do around 120 megawatt in 2020. This slide shows you the product portfolio of Huawei solar inverters. Huawei has 2 to 6 kilowatt residential single phase inverter, and in this residential scenario, we also have 3 to 10 kilowatt inverter. And next to it, there is commercial and industrial size of inverter, uh, which includes a range from 12 to 20 kilowatt, and then we have 36 kilowatt. The 36 kilowatt inverter currently available is going to be soon discontinued, and a new range of inverters is already introduced, which will be commercially available very soon. Uh, it will be 30, 36, and 40 kilowatt inverter. After this, we have a 50 and 60 kilowatt size of inverter and 100 kilowatt. The commercial range of inverter is normally a low voltage inverter, but the 60 and 100 kilowatt comes also in another variant of 480 volt output, which can be used in a MV termination of PV plants. In a utility scale uh, products, we have 105 kilowatt and 185 kilowatt from Huawei. There has been recently a new product that is being launched by Huawei, which is a 200 kilowatt, uh, which is similar to 185 kilowatt with the 9 MPPT. And that is also commercially available as of now. And any project in the utility scale can have the 200 kilowatt inverter as well. Coming to the topic of today's presentation, the 100 kilowatt M0 inverter and the smart RV curve diagnosis. So 100 KTL-M1 has a nominal output of 100 kilowatt. It provides you a maximum of 110 kilowatt up to a certain temperature. Maximum input voltage of this inverter is 1100 volt, but we recommend you that your open circuit voltage should be within 1000 volt, and due to the temperature variation, if this voltage goes beyond 1000, the inverter can accept up to 1100 volt in that case. Maximum input current is 26 ampere. With the previous inverters, Huawei used to have 22 ampere, such as the 50 and 60 kilowatt inverter. Now, the purpose of having 26 ampere per MPPT is to adopt to the new solar module trend, which is higher power, having more voltage and more current. This inverter has 10 MPPTs, which is the largest number of MPPT in any Huawei model. The MPPT voltage range of this inverter is from 200 to 1000 volt, but there is another voltage range called full MPPT voltage range. I highly recommend you guys to, whenever you design your PV plants, you look at the user manual and also see what is the full MPPT voltage range, which is around 540 to 800 volt. So if your string voltage is within that range, that is the voltage range where you will get the maximum efficiency of the inverter. Apart from that, this inverter can also work at a voltage of below 540 and above 800 volt with a relatively lesser efficiency. The communication of this inverter can happen using ambus, which is a type of communication using which the inverter sends the communication data using the AC cables. And also, this inverter has optional RS485 communication. These port can be found at the bottom of the inverter. I will explain about this in a later slide as well. The degree of protection is IP66. Output varies based on the voltage, and the temperature. So based on your regional requirements, regional temperature factors, and all, please always consider these also in your design. So the 10 MPPT inverter, the 100 KTL, is giving you high energy yield because it has more MPPT, and it can have less mismatch due to the solar module, which has a swelling, which has cracks, or having any issue in the solar module. And the solar inverter has three DC disconnect switch at the bottom. As you can see, the inverter is shown on this slide from the bottom side. The DC disconnect on the left side accounts to the uh, four MPPTs, and the next DC switch is for the fifth, sixth, and seventh MPPT, and the third DC disconnect switch is for the eighth, ninth, and 10th MPPTs. The SE connection to this inverter is from the side. Huawei used to have a bigger maintenance compartment with the previous inverters. Now Huawei has reduced the inverter maintenance compartment. The SE connection can happen on the side, which is a very small maintenance compartment. You can open it and connect your AC cables to it. How it benefits if you are gonna install 100 kilowatt with a single MPPT and compare it with the 10 MPPT from Huawei, you will get a mismatch of difference of 0.8 to 1%. So in a larger scale project, this is a huge energy yield difference between the two inverters. And especially in projects where you have certain performance bond to meet, you will be very curious about this point that your inverter should provide you the highest energy, and Huawei inverter in that scenario would be your best choice. So in case of a bifacial, these mismatch would be further between a single MPPT and a 10 MPPT Huawei, being from 1% to 2%. Just remember that the mismatch of the solar panels will increase as within the lifespan of the solar panels up to 25 years. So taking the case of a bifacial over the span of 25 years, the mismatch will increase, and the energy yield difference will amount to 3 to 5%. So you, in a larger project, you would definitely don't want to have such huge energy loss at the end of 25 years, especially for EPCs who are doing power purchase agreements or energy sale agreements. These will use is a big factor for them. So please take these also in your mind when you are choosing your inverter. Huawei uses a smart MPP tracking algorithm. This is auto detection and happens in million seconds. And Huawei MPPT efficiency, static efficiency is 99.9% in this inverter, and the dynamic efficiency is 99.69%, which is at the higher end compared to our other inverter manufacturers in the market. The multi-peak scanning of MPPT results into this higher efficiency of the inverter. We have done third-party test verifying the inverter efficiency authenticity, and we have seen also from other brands, reputed brands in the market, that they claim something on their data sheet, but when the third-party test verifies those efficiencies, they find a little inflated efficiency. So Huawei inverter, what claims on the data sheet of 100 KTL, it is 98.4% efficiency. The third party has also tested this and found that the inverter provides you exactly 98.4% for 100 KTL. For the 50 and 36, there is a very minimal difference of 0.02%. But if we take the case of another reputed European brand. Uh, they claim to have 98.5%, but in real, when the third party test has happened, they have found 0.59% difference on 110 kilowatt. Similarly, on the other inverter sizes, there is around 0.5 to 1% efficiency difference between what is being claimed on the inverter datasheet and what the third party has witnessed. Easy installation. So the Huawei 100 kilowatt can be installed at a 15-degree from the horizontal level. This gives you a lot of flexibility for using it in multiple scenarios. This concept comes from installing the inverter in the floating PV plant, having solar panels on a lake, in a river. You can install the solar inverter there and having a lesser height of the solar inverter by installing it at a 15-degree from the ground level. It casts less shadow, and therefore it gives you uh, more space for installing the solar panels. The previous inverters of Huawei supports up to 15 degrees from the vertical level, but the flexibility of 100 KTL is furthermore. Uh, these inverters has an optional handles for convenient lifting. So if you require such lifting, please inquire this from us, and we will provide you such handles as well along with these inverters. And these will definitely help you in easy carrying of the inverter. So Huawei has currently Fusion Solar 6, and which will also be updated to Fusion Solar 7. The current scenario under Fusion Solar 6, there are many different benefits of using smart string inverter, especially the 100 kilowatt, which is having the compatibility of working with the bifacial due to its high current input, and also it has the option of digital integration with even the trackers, and it doesn't require any fuses, having IP66 design, and yeah, it also supports string level voltage and current monitoring as of our other inverters. The communication and for larger projects where you are using transformer stations can be done through the M-bus, and you will be connecting your smart logger to the LV panel, and the smart logger will be decoding the communication data from the power line itself without any requirement of any other device. So this inverter is a zero-touch maintenance. These reduces the operational costs. The Smart IV Curve Diagnosis 3, which I will also be speaking about in my later slides, uh, gives you an efficient O&M methodology, reduces time to going to the field, and you can sit on your desk and know which part of your pea plant is healthy, and if there is unhealthy strings in your pea plant, what need to be done in order to mitigate that. So the smart angle curve diagnosis is much faster as to the previous versions. Huawei 100 kilowatt inverter can also be connected to the smart transformer station, which is also one of the products in the portfolio of Huawei. Uh, these, uh, these smart transformer stations come in 3 megawatt and 6 megawatt sizes. In this regard, if you have any further information required, please contact us, and we will be definitely helping you with giving you more technical insight about it. So the actual DCAC ratio will decrease as temperature rise. Most of you would already be aware of. This is always a question that what DCAC ratio is best suitable when we are using a Huawei inverter. This depends on the regions. I believe if we talk of Middle East, especially the recommended, DCEC ratio is between 1.15 to 1.3. Beyond that, you can go up to 1.4 as well. But if you are going above 1.4, we highly recommend that you get back to us and discuss the project scenario to help you optimize the DCEC ratio for the PV plant. So, as you guys know, that bifacial has been used in many large-scale projects, and it is becoming a new trend. By 2022, Huawei is expecting that 22% of the market share will be occupied by bifacial solar PV modules. The tracking system will also be occupied by 44% in the utility scale scenario. And Eastern inverter market will be more fashionable, and it will occupy 60.5% of market share in the utility scale scenario. So Huawei inverters are already having features to accommodate bifacial modules, trackers, and these are already string level inverters, which reduces the failure rate and also increases the availability as compared to the peaker inverters or single MPPT inverters. Reliability OPEX of the Fusion Solar Smart PV solution. Huawei is making a very highly reliable product. Huawei predicts the inverter life cycle is 25 years, while we have also third-party reports about the Huawei inverters, which estimates to be around 16 to 17 years. Still, that lifespan is much higher as compared to the other inverters available in the market. Such reports can also be shared with you guys if required. So, Huawei has its own high silicon chipset used in the new inverters. It has its own operating system used in the inverter, which is Light OS. And Huawei has a joint innovation for the power module, the electronics inside the inverter with a third party. And when the product is produced, in order to make sure the reliability of the product, Huawei is doing temperature test. Huawei is doing dust test, exposing into such environment and testing it for many hours. And Huawei does a high acceleration live test of the inverter, which is actually exposing the inverter to sub-zero temperature of around minus 40 degrees Celsius and increasing the temperature to almost 90 degrees Celsius in order to make sure the operation of the inverter is still successful. Yet in the data sheet you will find that the inverter is told to you guys to be operated from minus 25 to 60 degrees Celsius. And also during the hold test, the switching of the inverter is constantly happening to make sure that there is no failure of any component. Apart from it, these inverters are also exposed to salt-rich environment to see the impact of the salt in the environment, in the weather, on the inverter. And yeah, so corrosive gas and such other tests also are done with this kind of inverter to make sure that these inverters are highly reliable. Apart from this, when all the Huawei inverters supplied to our customers, each of them are tested uh, for, for around 5 to 8 hours before being shipped to the customer. And for each inverter, you will find a QC report inside the inverter package. Talking further about the reliability, Huawei has increased the IP rating from IP66 to from IP65 to IP66. And these inverter can now withstand strong jets of water, and it can withstand against high dust as well. Uh, Huawei inverters are IP66, as discussed. It is fully cell design, although this inverter has a cooling compartment at the backside, and the electronics compartment is fully sealed IP66. The cooling on the backside happens through three aluminum fans, which takes the air from the bottom side and releases it from the two sides of the inverter without going inside the electronics compartment but cooling it from the outside. As compared to it, if you look into the central solution, the inverters are normally RP21, and dust it can go inside. It will accumulate on the filters. There is a requirement of constant periodic maintenance, and either cleaning the filters or changing them. These accounts to a huge O&M cost on the PV plant owners. So this is made with the optimal cooling design. So there is no air cross convection, ensuring high availability and easy maintenance. Because the air goes from the back side, but there is no electronics. The electronic side is sealed, so the cooling is made very smart, and it goes to all those areas which is heated due to the current flow inside the inverter and cools them down. As compared to the Huawei scenario, the central inverters or the traditional solution available in the market, there are fans which takes the air inside even the electronics compartment, and yeah, so the cooling happens in that way. Huawei reliability can also be uh, made sure to no fuse requirement with these inverters, because each MPPT connects to only two strings, which is also adopted to the previous range of the Huawei inverters. If you are using a fuse and it is and a high current is being faced by the fuse, uh, there is a chance that the fuse may not blow in time, it may not burn in time to disconnect the circuit. What happens in that scenario is that the high current will still flow, go into the DC combiners, go inside your inverter, and which results to temperature increase inside the DC combiner or the inverter, resulting sometimes into the burning of the inverter. Since you are not using any fuses with Huawei inverter, you are not required to use any fuses or DC combiners, and you can directly terminate your PV strings to the inverter. Therefore, it is more safe, more reliable, and reduces any fire hazard. What inverter box encloses? So, if you buy an inverter from us, the inverter package will enclose the solar inverter unit itself. It will also have PV connectors. The is probably MC4 for your own solar cables, which you can connect to your cable and then terminate it onto the inverter. So you don't need to buy it unless you damage the inverter pay, the MC4 pairs that comes with the inverter itself. Huawei puts 20 pair because there is 20 string connection available with the Huawei 100 KTL inverter. It also encloses a round connector, which is actually a connector uh, used for the communication cables terminating to the inverter itself at the bottom. It also encloses a mounting bracket. Uh, with the mounting bracket, you will also find the bolt assembly in order to fix these bracket onto the support. This could be a concrete wall. It also provides a screw and washer for mounting the inverter to the bracket itself. Further, you will find security torque wrench. Uh, so if you want to open the inverter, or the maintenance compartment, which is the point where you will be connecting your solar cables, sorry, the AC cables, you will be using the security torque wrench. Otherwise, you can use your own torque wrenches as well. Huawei does not recommend you to open the electronics compartment. That is fully sealed, and it comes with a seal on the sides. If those seals are taken off, the warranty may get void. So there is a door rod as well. This door rod is provided you so that you, when you are opening the compartment for AC cable connection, you can put this rod in order to keep the door open. Huawei inverter failure rate, in order to give you uh, an idea, we, uh, we have these graphs, these statistics from Huawei, which mentions that till the end of 2019, Huawei supplied almost 118 gigawatt. But the statistics is shown to you guys till 2018. The failure rate has been going up and down, but it has always been below 0.5%, which is very good, which is very low failure rate as compared to other inverter manufacturers in the market. So by 2014, you can see that the failure rate for the total inverters supplied by Huawei globally was accounting to 0.36, which slightly increased to 0.42 and coming down again in 2016, 2017, and 2018. So these inverters are installed in many different scenarios. So in the soil mist environment, and the hot and sandy, in humid and rooftop projects. So you can install them in all these scenarios. Still, we guarantee that there is a very small failure rate of our Huawei inverters. Talking of the RV curve, diagnosis of Huawei Fusion Solar. Okay, so this is the quickly diagram showing you a site configuration of your PV plant. So your solar inverters will connect to daisy chain, and then they will be connected to the Huawei smart loggers, which are the communication devices. You can have multiple project sites. Maybe in one project you can have multiple smart loggers. So you can monitor them all under the one platform, which is Fusion Solar. If you're installing more than one, you have the option of choosing which solar PV plant you want to monitor, and you can click and monitor that. So these smart loggers get connected to the internet router or via 4G SIM card data, and sends the data to the Fusion Solar cloud, from where you can access it on your desktops using the web platform, or on your mobiles using the Fusion Solar app. Apart from it, you can also push data to third-party cloud using FTP push function, which is also supported by Huawei Smart Logger. And then you can monitor the PV plant data on a third-party platform as well. So Huawei has now upgraded M-bus transmission. This is a new architecture with also with the new operating system. It is 10 times more stable for anti-interference. Previously, Huawei inverter had narrowband PLC, which is still adopted by many other manufacturers. Not all, but very few has this PLC communication in the market using narrowband 9 kilohertz to 490 kilohertz. In comparison to that, Huawei has high bandwidth from 500 kilohertz to 12 megahertz. These high frequency increases the stability of the signal, and it does not have any impact. It does not see any impact due to the noises uh, due to IGBT switching. The normal transmission rate in the narrow PLC scenario is around 5 kbps or more, but in case of the M-bus, these transmission rate is around 150 kbps. The transmission delay in the narrow band PLC scenario is 150 milliseconds as compared to that Huawei M-bus takes 5 times lesser uh, duration in order to transmit the data, thus being below 30 milliseconds. The connection node is also more in M-bus scenario, which is 150 nodes. By nodes, it can be an inverter, it could be any other device that supports the M-bus. As compared to the M-bus scenario, the narrowband PLC supports up to 30 nodes. So the IV curve diagnosis done on the Huawei Fusion Solar platform is also certified by TUV Greenland. This test report has been verified, has been tested, and Huawei has now this certificate available for its IV curve diagnosis. The IV curve diagnosis is implemented globally on a 5 gigawatt more PV plants. This feature provides you a remote and online diagnosis. So if you have a PPE project somewhere, let's suppose in Africa, you can sit in Dubai on a click of a button, there will be AVICA diagnosis process started, and finally you will get the report within some minutes and minutes of time, and then you can download that report in terms of a PDF for access. So there is no professional person required in this. This can be done by anybody within your teams. So just to give you the time duration that it only takes 15 minutes for a 100 megawatt PV plant on a 100% full load analysis. What does it mean? By 100% full load, it means that all the PV strings in a 100 megawatt PV plant will be scanned, and the data will be reported to the Fusion Solar, and Fusion Solar will analyze using its algorithm and give you a report. So from the click of your instruction till the time it gives you the report is taking only 15 minutes, which is very short period of time. And also these scanning of the PV string happens 2 times in order to make sure the reliability of the scan. These IV curve diagnosis can check up to 14 different string faults, such as swelling, such as low current output, such as rated power degradation, such as cell shadowed, and many others. So the top trend in terms of PV modules or PV string being faulty or not performing optimally has been diagnosed by Huawei AVICA analysis, and it has been seen that 54.81% of such PV string faults are due to diode short circuit. As you might know that normally manufacturers have diode in the junction box of the solar panel. So short circuit of diode accounts to more than 50% of such failures, and abnormal output current accounts to almost 21%, and open circuit string and glass breakage accounts to 9.8 and 8.2%. Similarly, the graph on this slide shows you other uh, faults that can happen in a PV string and what Huawei has diagnosed their percentages. So this has been implemented in many different projects around the globe. Few scenarios are in front of your screen. Uh, so there is a case of Chile where there is a 14 megawatt PV plant and Huawei has found out there is a 0.74% failure rate, and also uh, due to these different issues with the PV strings. When Huawei is giving you this IV curve diagnosis report in the shape of the PDF, you will get the IV curve of each of the PV string, and at the end, you will also find a table which will show you that against each of the issues what are the remedies that you can apply in order to solve the issues in the PV string. So Huawei's upgraded Avika scanning 3 can also be applied for bifacial scenario for faster scanning. There is a case uh, in this case Saudi Arabia where 400 megawatt has been installed with 300 megawatt of Huawei solar inverter. The consultant has come up with a study to find out what benefit does this provides to them. They have found out that the traditional operational and maintenance without IV curve scanning of Huawei would cost them $500 more per megawatt as compared to the Huawei Fusion Solar. And yeah, normally for a 300 megawatt PV plant on AC side, uh, they were thinking that it would cost them around $46,000 for the equipments and the softwares in order to analyze the manual data of the RV curve. And also for such size of PV plant, it would take them around 30 days for one-time diagnosis. And also the diagnosis would not be happening on all the PV strings installed to the inverters. It would be only sample based. So due to the yield loss, because if you're going to be doing manual IV curve diagnosis, you will have to disconnect the DC combiners and that all. It will account to also non-production of your PV plant. So that would account to almost $4,800 as of the consultant. Also, there is a huge labor cost involved in order to do the manual IV curve scanning, and also on the top of that, you would be doing a lot of transportation work to go to the site and come back. So the total cost would be around $75,000 as seen if the traditional RV curve casing would have been used. With Huawei scenario, you are just using your own normal PV plant monitoring, which is the Fusion Solar. It would only take 25 minutes for a 3 megawatt PV plant and almost zero losses because it takes very minimal time to do the RV curve scanning, and that also remotely. And you do not need a professional labor to go to the site in order to do such reporting. So this happens automatically, and you will get the report on the Fusion Solar. So thank you guys. My slides are completed here. If you have any question, please press the question mark in the chat section. Write your question, send it, and now we are activating the Q&A mode. All those questions that you are having, I will be answering them one by one. After the Q&A session, we will have a short survey about this webinar itself, and then we will be finishing this session. So thank you very much. I would go forward and answer the first question. Uh, Anthony asked what is ECP. It was a mistake. It should have been EPC, which is engineering procurement and construction mentioned in our initial survey. Next, what is the difference between the nominal input voltage and the MPPT voltage range? These are kind of the same terminology. It is up to you that how you interpret them. But with Huawei inverter, you have two type of MPPT voltage range, which is called nominal input voltage range or MPPT voltage range, and there's another full MPPT voltage range, which is a finer voltage range within which you will get the maximum efficiency of the inverter. Next, 10 MPPTs. It is meaning the MPPT it is increased 10 times. No, by this means that the inverter has 10 number of MPPTs. Next, when will this inverter be available? So this inverter is already available and we have them even in our stock. Anybody that requires, please send us the inquiry and we will be happy to assist you with that. How is Fusion Solar Smart System accessed? Web-based software app. Very good question. You can access the Fusion Solar management system either through web platform, which is sg5.fusionsolar.huawei.com. Alternatively, there is free application available by the name of Fusion Solar. You can download that in your phone, and in both the web and app, you will see the demo as well for an owner account. But there is no software for this. For the illustration of the 100 KTL being used in a floating solar PV plant at a tilt angle of 15 degrees, please clarify what is the advantage in this instance? Is the ability to mount it at this angle? Good question, which I also tried to explain during the same slide. When you are tilting an inverter, let's suppose at a 90 angle, it will cast more shadow on the back side. If you are installing the inverter at a lower angle, let's say in this scenario 15 degree, so there would be very small shade on the back side of the inverter. So thus you are having more area in order to install the solar panels as well. So the main purpose is in order to decrease the shadow on the back side of the inverter and utilize more space. There is a question. I want to know about the earthing of its AC and DC side. The solar array earthing will be connected to the earthing terminal of the inverter or be directly connected to the earthing electrode of earthing pit. Please address. So as of Huawei, they advise to have two separate earth pits for the AC and DC side. So you are not going to be terminating your PV frame earthing to the inverter. Rather, you should go to a separate earth pit. Yes, and yeah, you can do the daisy chain of the inverter earthing and terminate it to the LV panel earthing. But for the frames, you need to have a separate earthing. I hope this clarifies your question. If fuse is not used, then what protection in case of short circuit? Good question. So as I said, Huawei inverters has multiple MPPT. In case of 100 KTL, there is 10. Each MPPT connects to two string only. So what would happen when there will happen a short circuit scenario? This will happen when one of the PV string is not working and the next PV string is working. So the non-working PV string will face a reverse current from the working string, which could be a maximum of plus minus 10 ampere. So if you go to the solar PV module datasheet, all the manufacturers tells you that their solar module can accept are safe enough for up to a 15 ampere reverse current. So since the working PV string will not affect the the faulty string due to the short circuit current in this scenario. Therefore, you are not required to use any PV fuses. Does the inverter cabinet have remote temperature indication, say to a control room or on the cabinet door? Uh, on the fusion solar, you can monitor what is the internal cabinet temperature, and if you want to access the data into a control room, so you can do in Modbus interfacing and get this data from the Huawei smart load. Since there is no LCD on the screen of Huawei inverter, so there is only LEDs. Therefore, you cannot see such information on the inverter itself. Next, can you please comment on Solis inverter technology when compared to Huawei? Well, this is a question which can be answered, based on the inverter model that you are considering. So, if yeah, for such comparisons, I believe you guys would already be aware of the specification of the two inverter in depth. If you want to consult uh, with us, please send us an email on the email ID which I am now writing on the chat section, mentioning the inverter model, and we can try to comment on that as well. Are Fusion Solar and the IV curve diagnosis free tools? What are provided when Huawei inverters are purchased and installed? So, Fusion Solar is the monitoring platform, which is a free monitoring platform, but the IV curve diagnosis is a premium feature for the bigger commercial size inverters. IV curve diagnosis is free for with 20 kilowatt and below size of inverters and doesn't require any license. But for the bigger inverters, you need to buy the license for the inverter in order to get this premium feature on the Fusion Solar. Once you upload the license, then you can do the IV curve diagnosis. What you will get with the inverter is already explained in my previous slides, where I went through the different components inside the inverter box. The next question is, what is your opinion on micro inverters currently used in residential installations? Uh, hey, these this scenario is something that needs to be discussed separately, because we need to understand on what aspect you are actually comparing the two. So please send us your inquiry on the technical solar email mentioned in the chat section, and I will be further explaining it for you. Next, how many solar panels are for one circuit, and what will be the capacity for a 18 watt? So it depends on what solar panel brand and model you are using, what is the current and voltage. What Huawei limits you is on the current of the MPPT and the voltage input of the MPPT. As far as you are in the voltage and current limit of the MPPT, you are safe to connect as number of solar panels as you can. Okay, so we have a very good lengthy question here. Are the string inverters on grid or off grid, or can they be both? What about battery storage? Okay, let me answer the first section first. So Huawei until the date has been manufacturing on-grid inverter. The Huawei residential inverters from 3 to 10 kilowatt 3 phase and single phase 2 to 6 kilowatt are battery ready. With the new inverter being launched by the end of the year, this battery connectivity can also be used for the off-grid application, and the battery will also be supplied by Huawei. So that is the next step which Huawei is going to be introducing. Uh, are these inverters compatible with battery charging? Yes, the currently available residential inverter only is also capable of charging batteries. Does Huawei provide smart metering? by smart metering, if you are meaning power meter, then yes, Huawei has also a smart power sensor which can be used as a power meter for your project. How can I find out more about all the Huawei products and solutions? So you can go on to the solar.huawei.com, and you can find a lot of information about the product range, and also you can, under the service section, you can find more documents such as data sheets, such as manuals, certificates, and that all. Further, if you need more information which you cannot find there, you can always contact Jubaili and we would be happy to assist you. Can you send some sample SLD diagrams showing different solutions based on the application? How can Jubaili assist with the designing solar system using Huawei products? Is there any division that can help with consultation on my designs with Huawei products? What is the warranty provided for these products? Will you be sending this presentation to us by email? Okay, so we have a lot of questions. Uh, Regarding use of Huawei solar inverters in your PV projects, the technical team in Jubaili is always happy to assist you. So to verify your design, to comment it in order to, you know, for the better use of the product in your PV projects. So please send us any question that you have regarding the use of Huawei inverter to us, and then we would be really very happy to guide you on that aspect. Regarding the Huawei inverter warranty, the inverter itself comes with a 5-year warranty when we supply to you. That presentation will be sent out to your emails, everybody, including the certificate of attendance after this webinar session. Next. Okay, I believe we are finished with the questions. Uh, Thank you very much for joining us in today's session. Now we have a quick survey about this webinar itself. Please kindly fill up this webinar survey, and based on your survey results, we would be changing our webinar methods in order to make it more knowledgeable, more presentable, more interesting for you guys. Thank you again for joining me in today's session, and I will hopefully soon be coming